Weak limbs from old age. Think no fall means no problem. These are two of the most dangerous myths, ones that cause thousands of seniors to miss their chance to survive a sudden stroke. The truth is, a stroke is not as dramatic as you might think. It doesn't always show up with a piercing headache, an inability to speak, or a sudden collapse. Often it's just one arm feeling a little weak, a single unsteady step, a vague feeling, and then it's gone. And if we buy into those flawed myths about getting older, we're likely to dismiss these early warning signs. And that is what's truly dangerous. In this video, I'm breaking down 5 common myths about aging and stroke that countless people over 60 still hold on to, and consequently, they miss the golden window to safeguard their own health. If you've ever heard, ever believed, or ever brushed off a strange feeling in your body, take a few minutes to stick with me until the end, because sometimes a simple understanding can be enough to save a life. Let's dive right in. And the first myth, which seems logical but is incredibly dangerous, a stroke only strikes during intense activity. Some people have a stroke while just sitting and watching television, no exertion, no pain, and by the time family finds out, it's already too late. Many people still believe a stroke is something that only happens when you overdo it, like lifting something heavy, exercising too hard, or rushing up the stairs. They figure if they just stay home, move gently, and avoid strain, they'll be safe. But the scary truth is many strokes happen during rest, while eating, or even during sleep. It happens not from overexertion, but because blood vessels in the brain were already compromised, blood pressure spiked, or a clot formed silently. According to the American Stroke Association, roughly 25% of strokes occur while the person is resting or inactive. The primary causes are sudden hypertension, atrial fibrillation, or blood thickening from prolonged sitting or lying, not from intense activity. Paul, 79, from Virginia, had a stroke while reading a book one evening. He wasn't overdoing anything. He simply didn't know he had uncontrolled high blood pressure. If his family hadn't noticed him start to slur his words as one arm grew limp, he might not have made it. Conversely, Rosa, 74, from Illinois, was so afraid of a stroke she avoided all exercise. She barely walked or moved, thinking staying still is safest. But that very sedentary lifestyle made her gain weight, lose control of her blood pressure, and then have a stroke in her sleep. When you believe that only exertion causes a stroke, you're letting your guard down during the times your body is most vulnerable. A stroke doesn't announce itself. It doesn't care what you're doing. It just needs one tiny vessel to fail, and everything can change in an instant. Please monitor your blood pressure every day, even when you feel perfectly fine. Maintain light, consistent movement, walk, stretch, breathe deeply. Don't stay in one position for too long. Ask your doctor about your stroke risk if you have a history of high blood pressure, or diabetes or heart disease. True safety isn't found in doing nothing. It's found in understanding your body, keeping it active, and caring for it each day. Because a stroke doesn't wait for you to be active. It just waits for you to be unaware. And another myth that makes many people let their guard down. If it doesn't hurt, it can't be serious. Someone had a stroke in the middle of the day, no headache, no fainting, just a little trouble speaking and a shaky hand. But because they waited for a real pain to show up, that was the last time they ever spoke to their child. Many older adults still operate as if no headache means everything's fine. They're conditioned to see a headache as the first or only sign of a stroke. So if they can still talk, their limbs still work and nothing hurts, they ignore subtle shifts like slightly slower speech, blurred vision, or unusual fatigue. But strokes come in many forms, and not all of them cause pain. Especially in seniors, a mild decline in awareness can prevent them from even noticing the unusual signals their own body is sending. The American Stroke Association reports that only about 30% of stroke patients have a distinct headache when it begins. For the rest, the majority experience quiet symptoms like one-sided weakness, slurred speech, loss of balance, or temporary vision loss with no pain whatsoever. This leads patients to be complacent and miss that golden window for getting the help they need. Harold, 76 from Ohio, woke up to a weak right leg and an unsteady walk, but with no headache, he chalked it up to sleeping wrong. It wasn't until that afternoon when speaking became difficult that his family rushed him to the hospital, where a stroke was clearly diagnosed. Conversely, Linda, 73 from Maine, called for help the moment her right hand couldn't grip a glass like normal, even without any pain. Because of that, she was treated in the golden hour, and made a nearly full recovery. If you keep waiting for a distinct pain to believe it's dangerous, then when that pain finally arrives, you may have already lost your chance to get back to normal. A stroke doesn't need to hurt you. It just needs you to be unsuspecting. Remember the acronym FAST, F, facial drooping, A, arm weakness, S, speech difficulty, T, time to call emergency services. Even without pain, if any of those signs appear, you must act fast. Keep 911 or a loved one's number somewhere easy to see at home. Not everything dangerous comes with pain. Sometimes the scariest things are the ones that arrive in silence, leaving you with nothing but regret once they've taken too much. So don't wait for a headache, start paying attention sooner. And because a stroke can arrive painlessly, many people then mistake its obvious signs for just a normal part of getting older. A stroke often comes after a warning, and the terrifying part is most seniors ignore that warning, thinking it's just old age. After 60, feeling your limbs get weaker is not uncommon. But because it happens gradually, people tend to accept it as a natural part of aging. They think, I'm just old and weak now, without asking, why is one side weaker? Why is just the right hand unsteady or the left leg suddenly feeling heavy? Chalking every change up to age causes many to miss a minor stroke or a transient ischemic attack, which is often the final warning before a massive stroke hits. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, one-sided weakness, however mild, is one of the most common stroke symptoms. In particular, transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, are often dismissed because the symptoms vanish after a few minutes. However, someone who's had a TIA is many times more likely to have a major stroke within the next 48 hours. Marvin, 80 from Wisconsin, noticed his right hand was weak one morning. He couldn't hold a cup and found it hard to brush his teeth. He just assumed he slept on it wrong and moved on. 2 days later, he had a major stroke and lost his ability to speak. Meanwhile, Ellen, 76 from California, also felt her left leg wobble but remembered a health program she saw and knew it could be a TIA. She went to the hospital immediately and got timely treatment, preventing a full-blown stroke. When you blame every little change on old age, you're giving a stroke a free pass into your body. And if you let it stick around too long, you might not get the chance to take another step. Pay attention to any asymmetrical changes, one arm weaker than the other, one leg wobblier than its partner, a lopsided smile, a weak grip. Note when it happens, and if you have any doubt whatsoever, then call for help right away. Don't wait for it to go away. Aging is natural, but sudden weakness can be a signal. And between living with age or falling victim to complacency, you always have a choice, as long as you make it early. If you're still watching and find this helpful, let me know by commenting a 3 below. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll hit that follow button and ring the bell so you won't miss new source videos. Your support allows us to keep making helpful and inspiring content. And sometimes by thinking that a stroke means you can't talk, many people ignore other signs that are just as dangerous. Many people wait until a mouth droops or a tongue gets tied to finally seek help, and by then, a part of their brain has already died. When you mention a stroke, the first image that comes to mind is often can't talk, droopy mouth, or slurred speech. So if the person can still hold a conversation, however slowly or tiredly, loved ones often feel relieved and dismiss other signs. But in truth, a stroke manifests in many different ways. Some people can still talk, but can't see clearly. Some lose control of their limbs, lose their balance, or become confused without a single issue with their speech. This misunderstanding causes many to delay getting help and lose that precious golden hour. The American Stroke Association states that over 30% of strokes begin with no speech-related symptoms. Many people only show signs like one-sided weakness, blurred vision in one eye, loss of balance, or a change in consciousness. Focusing only on speech can make patients and their families complacent during these silent strokes. James, 79, from Colorado, stumbled and hit his shoulder on the wall walking down the hall. He could still talk fine, so his son just thought he was tired from a bad night's sleep. But just 2 hours later, he suddenly collapsed into a coma. The stroke had been progressing silently. In contrast, June, 75, from New York, immediately had a neighbor take her to the emergency room when her vision blurred in one eye and her left leg felt weak. Thanks to that early action, she made a nearly full recovery. Waiting until someone can't speak to call it a stroke is like waiting for the house to be engulfed in flames to call the fire department. At that point, every effort is a desperate race against time, and you're often on the losing side. Please remember the other early signs of a stroke: facial droop, arm or leg weakness, loss of balance, blurred vision, confusion, or sudden unexplained fatigue. Don't wait for speech to fail before you act. Trust your own instincts when something feels wrong. Clear speech doesn't mean everything is okay. And sometimes the thing you need to listen to isn't words, but the silent, urgent signals your body is sending. And finally, a seemingly optimistic belief that is incredibly dangerous. I've already had one stroke. It probably won't happen again. Many people survive a stroke only to die from a second one they thought would never return. After getting through a stroke, many people sigh in relief. I'm in the clear. They think it was a one-time event and that life will go back to normal. But that very belief makes them drop their guard. Some stop taking their medication regularly, others skip follow-up visits, and some even return to their old lifestyle of salty food, little activity, and high stress. And then far too many have a second stroke. And this time it's not so mild, not so lucky. A stroke doesn't ask if you've had one before. It only asks if you've forgotten to prevent it. According to the American Stroke Organization, about 1 in every 4 stroke survivors will have another one. The risk is highest within the first 5 years after the initial event. However, sticking to treatment, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consistent medical follow-ups can dramatically reduce the chance of recurrence. Albert, 78, from Arizona, did his physical therapy and took his medicine on time for 2 years after his first stroke. But once he felt healthy again, he gradually gave up monitoring his blood pressure, ate more salt, and slept less. And just 8 months later, he had a second stroke. This one left him unable to walk. Meanwhile, Nancy, 80, from Minnesota, had a TIA but used it as a wake-up call. She diligently walked every morning, followed a Mediterranean diet, and kept a positive outlook. And now, 6 years later, she's still healthy, independent, and full of life. If you think one stroke means you're done, you are leaving the door wide open for it to come back at any time. And every time it returns, it brings more risk and deeper devastation. Not just to your body, but to the hearts of your loved ones. After a stroke, stick to your follow-up schedule. Check your blood pressure often, take your medicine on time, and get some light movement in every day. Ask a loved one for reminders if your memory isn't as sharp. Treat every day you can still walk and talk as a gift, and protect that gift with your own vigilance. Don't wait until you've lost a part of yourself and then wish you had gotten checked sooner. We cannot turn back the clock, but we can choose to live with more awareness and proactivity every single day. A weak arm should not be ignored. An unsteady step should not be dismissed as just how it is. A sudden wave of fatigue, a moment of confusion, could be the very signal telling you it's time to get a closer look. Because a stroke is not something that only happens to other people. And if you have been through it, you should listen to your body even more closely. If today you let go of even one of these 5 myths, that is the first step and the most important one, on the journey to protecting your clarity, your stability, and your full, vibrant life. Please share this video with the people you love, because you never know, a single reminder might be exactly what they need right now. And if you've ever recovered from a stroke or are living more carefully because you caught something early, please leave a comment and share your story, because your experience could be a beacon of hope for someone lost in worry. I wish you always have the clarity to see what's important and the self-love to take action before it's too late.